In 2009, Ford introduced the EcoBoost engine family, a turbocharged four-cylinder that produced the power of a V6 while consuming the fuel of a four-cylinder. The marketing was compelling, the fuel economy numbers were real, and millions of Americans bought into it. By 2015, the warranty claims were coming in faster than Ford's engineers could process them. Coolant intrusion into cylinders, head gasket failures at 60,000 miles, catastrophic engine damage on vehicles that had never missed an oil change. Ford eventually issued technical service bulletins, then extended warranties, then quiet settlements. The EcoBoost story is not unique to Ford. It is the same story playing out across every major manufacturer that has bet its engine lineup on forced induction. Volkswagen TSI, BMW N20, Chevrolet Ecotec Turbo, Chrysler Pentastar with twin-scroll turbo. The names are different, the failure patterns are almost identical. And the reason has nothing to do with the quality of the engineering. It has everything to do with a fundamental physical reality that the marketing departments of every major automaker have spent the last 15 years hoping you would not notice. Turbo engines run hotter, spin harder, and operate under more mechanical stress than naturally aspirated engines of equivalent displacement. Every single mile, every single day, from the moment they leave the factory, that stress has consequences, and those consequences are showing up in repair shops across America at a rate that should concern every car owner who bought into the downsizing revolution. Let me explain what a turbocharger actually does to an engine. Because most people understand that a turbo adds power, very few people understand what it costs the engine to produce that power. A naturally aspirated engine draws air into its cylinders through atmospheric pressure alone. The piston moves down, creates a vacuum, and air rushes in at approximately 14.7 pounds per square inch, standard atmospheric pressure at sea level. The fuel mixes with that air, ignites, and the expanding gases push the piston down. Simple, mechanical, and operating well within the thermal and mechanical limits of the materials involved. A turbocharged engine forces additional air into the cylinder above atmospheric pressure. The turbocharger, driven by exhaust gases that would otherwise be wasted, compresses incoming air and forces it into the cylinder at pressures ranging from 6 to 25 pounds per square inch above atmospheric. This compressed air allows more fuel to be burned per combustion cycle, producing more power from the same displacement. But compressed air is hot air. Compressing a gas raises its temperature. Depending on the boost pressure, intake air temperatures in a turbocharged engine can reach 200 to 300 degrees Fahrenheit before it even enters the cylinder. Intercoolers reduce this, but never eliminate it. The combustion event in a turbocharged engine starts with hotter air than its naturally aspirated equivalent. It burns at higher pressure, and it produces more heat per cycle. That additional heat and pressure has to go somewhere. It goes into the cylinder walls, into the pistons, into the valves and valve seats, into the head gasket, into the turbocharger itself, which spins at 100,000 to 200,000 revolutions per minute and is cooled by the same engine oil that is already working harder than it would in a naturally aspirated application. This is not a design flaw. It is physics, and no amount of engineering can eliminate it, only manage it. Now let me explain why managing it has become so much harder in modern downsized turbo engines compared to the turbocharged engines of the 1980s and 1990s. The turbocharged engines that built the reputation for durability, the Toyota 2JZ GTE, the Nissan RB26, the Mitsubishi 4G63, were large displacement engines with turbochargers added to extract additional performance. A 2.5-liter or 3.0-liter block running a turbocharger at moderate boost has thermal mass, physical space, and engineering margins that absorb the additional stress of forced induction without operating near its limits. The modern downsized turbo engine is a completely different proposition. A 1.5-liter or 1.6-liter four-cylinder producing the power output of a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine is not operating with comfortable margins. It is operating at or near the limits of what the materials and engineering can sustain continuously. Every component is smaller, every clearance is tighter, every thermal load is proportionally higher relative to the mass available to absorb it. The Ford EcoBoost 1.5-liter is expected to produce 180 horsepower. A naturally aspirated 1.5-liter produces approximately 110 horsepower under the same conditions. To close that 70 horsepower gap through turbocharging, the engine runs at boost pressures and combustion temperatures that push its head gasket, piston rings, and cooling system to their engineering limits every time the driver asks for meaningful acceleration. Do that for 80,000 miles and something gives. Not because the engineering was careless, because the physics of what is being asked of a small block running high boost are incompatible with the longevity expectations that buyers carry over from the naturally aspirated engines those turbo units replaced. Let me give you the specific failure points that are appearing most frequently in the real-world data from repair shops and warranty claims. Failure point 1. Carbon buildup on intake valves. Naturally aspirated port fuel injected engines spray fuel directly onto the intake valves during the intake stroke. That fuel acts as a solvent, washing carbon deposits off the valve surfaces continuously throughout the engine's life. The valves stay clean. Modern turbocharged direct injection engines spray fuel directly into the combustion chamber, bypassing the intake valves entirely. Without fuel washing over them, the intake valves accumulate carbon deposits from oil vapor in the positive crankcase ventilation system. Over 50,000 to 80,000 miles, these deposits build up to the point where they restrict airflow, cause misfires, and eventually require walnut blasting or mechanical cleaning to remove. The service procedure costs $400 to $800 and needs to be repeated every 60,000 to 80,000 miles for the life of the engine. No naturally aspirated port injection engine has this problem. It did not exist as a maintenance item before direct injection turbocharged engines became mainstream. Failure point 2. Turbocharger oil coking. The turbocharger in a modern downsized engine spins at up to 200,000 revolutions per minute and is cooled and lubricated by engine oil. When the engine is shut down after operating at high load, highway driving, towing, aggressive acceleration, the turbocharger retains its heat while oil circulation stops. The residual oil in the turbocharger bearing housing is exposed to extreme heat with no circulation to carry that heat away. Under these conditions, oil breaks down rapidly and forms carbon deposits, called coke, on the turbocharger shaft bearings. Over time, these deposits restrict oil flow, increase bearing wear, and eventually cause turbocharger failure. A replacement turbocharger on a modern vehicle costs between $800 and $2,500 in parts alone, plus labor. The solution is a turbo timer, keeping the engine running at idle for 2 to 3 minutes after high-load operation to allow oil circulation to cool the turbocharger before shutdown. Almost no modern vehicle includes a turbo timer. Almost no owner manual mentions it. Almost no dealer service advisor explains it. The result is accelerated turbocharger wear in the majority of modern turbocharged vehicles in daily use. Failure point 3. Head gasket failure under thermal cycling. The head gasket seals the joint between the engine block and the cylinder head. It must maintain that seal through thousands of thermal cycles, the expansion and contraction of dissimilar metals as the engine heats up and cools down, while simultaneously containing combustion pressures that reach 1,000 to 1,500 pounds per square inch in a turbocharged engine. In a naturally aspirated engine operating at moderate combustion pressures, the head gasket operates well within its design margins for hundreds of thousands of miles. In a downsized turbocharged engine operating at the upper end of its combustion pressure range, the head gasket faces a more demanding thermal and mechanical environment. The result is premature head gasket failure appearing in modern turbocharged engines at mileages that would be considered early failure in any naturally aspirated application. The Ford EcoBoost, the BMW N20, the Volkswagen EA888 series all have documented head gasket failure patterns at mileages between 60,000 and 120,000 miles. Head gasket replacement is a major service procedure. Depending on the vehicle, it costs between $1,500 and $3,500 in labor and parts. On a vehicle worth $8,000 to $12,000 at the time of failure, it is often the event that ends the car's useful life. Now let me address the counter-argument, because there are turbocharged engines that have demonstrated genuine long-term reliability, and understanding why they work helps clarify exactly what the failing engines are missing. The Subaru EJ Series turbo engine, used in the WRX and STI, has documented examples of 200,000 to 250,000 miles in enthusiast ownership. The Mitsubishi 4 G63 from the Evolution series regularly hits 200,000 miles. The Toyota CT20 diesel turbo in commercial applications runs past 400,000 miles. What do these engines have in common that the failing modern downsized turbos do not? First, they are large displacement relative to their power output. The Ford G63 is a 2.0-liter engine producing 270 horsepower. Impressive, but it is doing so with a large block, substantial thermal mass, and engineering margins that absorb stress. Second, they were designed from the beginning as turbocharged engines. Not naturally aspirated engines with a turbocharger bolted on to meet fuel economy targets. The entire architecture, the cooling system capacity, the oiling circuit design, the head gasket specification, the piston and ring package, was engineered around the thermal and mechanical demands of forced induction from day one. Third, they exist in a community of owners who understand and manage the specific maintenance requirements of turbocharged engines, oil changes at 5,000 miles or less, high-quality full synthetic oil, turbo cool-down periods after hard driving. These practices extend turbo engine life dramatically. They are not optional on a forced induction engine. They are mandatory. The average owner of a Ford Explorer with an EcoBoost engine does not know they own a turbocharged vehicle. They change the oil when the dashboard tells them to, often at 7,500 or 10,000-mile intervals recommended by Ford to support its fuel economy marketing. They shut the engine off immediately after highway driving. They use whatever oil the quick lube shop recommends. That owner is not misusing the vehicle. They are using it exactly as advertised, and the vehicle is failing them exactly as physics predicts. Here's what you need to do right now if you own a turbocharged vehicle. First, shorten your oil change interval to 5,000 miles, regardless of what the manufacturer recommends. In a turbocharged engine, oil degrades faster due to higher operating temperatures. The 7,500 and 10,000-mile intervals common in modern maintenance schedules were developed to support fuel economy claims and reduce the cost of ownership on paper. They are not optimal for turbo engine longevity. Second, use full synthetic oil rated for turbocharged applications. The API SN Plus specification was developed specifically to address the low-speed pre-ignition problem common in modern downsized turbo engines. Do not use conventional oil in a turbocharged engine, regardless of what the owner manual says is acceptable. Third, allow the engine to idle for 2 minutes after any extended highway drive or aggressive driving session before shutting it down. This allows the oil to continue circulating through the turbocharger bearing housing and carry away heat before circulation stops. It costs 2 minutes. It can extend turbocharger life by tens of thousands of miles. Fourth, if your vehicle uses direct injection without port injection, check your owner manual. Schedule an intake valve cleaning at 60,000 miles and every 60,000 miles thereafter. Do not wait for symptoms. By the time you feel the misfire, the deposits are already severe. Fifth, if you are buying a used turbocharged vehicle, pull the oil cap and inspect the inside of the valve cover for sludge. Request the complete service history and verify oil change intervals. A turbocharged engine that has been running on 10,000-mile oil change intervals with conventional oil may have irreversible bearing wear that no amount of correct maintenance going forward can reverse. The naturally aspirated engine is not dead, but it is being retired from the new car market at a pace that should concern every buyer who expects their next vehicle to last 200,000 miles. The turbocharged downsized engine as it is currently deployed, in small blocks, at aggressive boost pressures with maintenance intervals designed for marketing rather than longevity, is not the equivalent of the naturally aspirated engine it replaced. It is a fundamentally different mechanical proposition that demands different ownership, different maintenance, and carries different long-term risk. The manufacturers know this. The engineering data is not secret. The warranty claim patterns are well documented internally at every OEM that has deployed these engines at scale. What is not communicated to the buyer is the gap between the ownership experience of a naturally aspirated engine and what is required to keep a modern downsized turbo alive past 150,000 miles. Now you know that gap exists, and you know exactly what to do about it. Drop your engine code in the comments, the 4 or 5-digit alphanumeric on your oil cap or in your owner manual. I will tell you exactly where your specific engine sits on the reliability spectrum and what its known failure points are at your current mileage. Next video, the 4 naturally aspirated engines still available in new vehicles today that will outlast every turbocharged engine in their class. The list is shorter than you think, and the window to buy one is closing fast.